Hello friends, in this video we are going to make such sewing or embroidering effect in geometry nodes, and I can draw any kind of shapes or text on my class or any kind of surfaces. So let me show you by going to the Bezier curve and drawing something like hello. Okay, now you can see, and it's completely on the surface like this with all the details. Now, if you like such effect or you might need it in your projects, please stay with me. Okay, in here I brought a piece of cloth, which the dimensions are about 40 by 40 centimeters, and I'm going to draw some curves on it. So for that I'm going to make a Bezier curve. I'm going into the edit mode and select all of them, press X to delete all the vertices, and now I'm going to draw some curves on it. So I select the draw and set this to surface, going into the options, and I want to set the tolerance to 1 pixel to have a more accurate curve. Now I want to draw it here. Okay, let me hide the cloth. Okay, I have my curve, something like this. Now we are going to use geometry nodes, new one, and okay. First, I need to scatter some straight lines along my base curve, something like this. And for that, first I should resample the curve to have a uniform distribution of points along my curve. And I want to set this on length because I want to have the same density of points for each individual curves which I draw on the surface. And I want to set this length to a very small value, so I should use divide. I want to have a better slider, so I set this number to 10,000. Okay, and after that, instance on points, and also a curve line. Okay, well, this is so big. Let me connect this curve line to the instances, and I want to set this to direction, and the direction is z-axis. It's actually along my z-axis, and length, I should also set the length to a number. I want to set this second value to 100 to have my value in centimeters. And set this to 1 for now. Okay. Now you can see that these are lines. Let me first reduce the density. By increasing the number. Okay. I also want to show you something else. Let me join them together. Join these straight lines and my base curve. Okay. You can see that all of these straight lines are placed on my base curve based on their starting points. And that's because the origin points of these straight lines are their starting points. It's something like this. And that's because we started these curves from this position, the 0 position. And I want these lines to be like this. So for that I need the origin points of these straight lines to be in the middle of them. And how can I make that? Well, I can simply do this by moving these straight lines down, something like this, by the half of their length, to have my origin point in the middle. So I should work on the starting point. This is my length. I can use a divide I want to divide it by -2 and use a combine x in here. Again, you can see that I'm typing just only c and x, and it gives me the combine xyz node. And also want to connect this to z. Now you can see, since the origin points of these lines are in the middle of them, the placing of these instances are now like this, which I want. I don't need that anymore. Okay. Reducing this length a little bit. Okay. Now I want these straight lines to lay on the surface, on my cloth surface. So I should change the rotation of them. Well, I need to align these lines, these straight lines, to a vector, and that vector should be both perpendicular to my base curve's tangent and also this surface normal. Well, if this is my curve and I want some splines like this along my curve, and you can see that they should be perpendicular to the curve tangent, and also they should lay on the surface, so it means that they also need to be perpendicular to the surface normal. And how can I make such a vector? Well, the cross product of two vectors gives a vector which is perpendicular to the both of those vectors. So I can use the cross product in here. So let me bring the cloth. I need the normal of this surface, and remember to set this to relative, so I can use the sample nearest surface. And I want to sample the normal, so I should set this to vector and bring the normal. And connect this to the value. The second vector is my base curve's tangent. Well, if I use the tangent node, let me show you. If I use the tangent node after this node or connect this to this node somehow, it will calculate the tangent of these existing curves, which are these straight lines. But I want to capture the base curve's tangent, this curve. So I should capture the tangent before this instance on points. I can use capture attribute and set this on vector. Okay, now that I have the curve tangent, I can use the cross product, which is actually a vector mass. Just set this on cross product. And the cross product of that tangent and the normal of the surface. And well, after having the vector, I want to align these straight lines to this vector. So I'm going to use the utilities and rotation, align Euler to vector. But it has three options. XYZ means that it's going to align the local z vector of my object to the specified vector, which is in here. I want to connect this to the vector and set this on z, because these curves are along z-axis, and connect this to the rotation. Okay, now you can see that they are laid on the surface like this, and let me increase the density. And don't worry about these parts, it's because of the drying tool, and that will be probably okay in the final result. I also want to give some random scales, so random value, connect this to scale, and I want this to be between 0.5 and 1, and I want to change the seed to anything other than 0, because because in the previous version the seed number 0 was a little bit buggy for me, and I didn't check that in the current version 3.5. Now that I have my curves which are parallel to each other, I want to give some random rotations to this. First, let me just turn off these random values, random scale for now. I want to convert this to something like this stuff. Okay. So for having this, I want to first select the starting points and move them along my curve tangent. And for the next step, I want to select the ending points and move them randomly along the curve tangent, but this time in the opposite direction. So I'm using set position, and I want to select the starting points, set the end size to 0 and just the starting size to 1. And since I want to move it along my curve tangent, I should bring it and use the scale, which is actually the vector math, and connect this to the offset. But if you change that, you will see that it won't work. That's because of the instances. I should realize the instances before changing the points position. I should realize them. Now you can see that the starting points are moving, but I need a very small value, and of course they should be random. So I'm going to use random value, changing the seed. I want this to be a symmetric value, like for example between minus 0.1 and 0.1. Okay, but they should be so much smaller, so I'm going to use the divide node again and divide it by 1000, and also I should multiply it by -1 to have the negative value to connect that to the mean value. Now I can change that. You can see that I'm giving random values to the starting point and they are moving along my curve tangent. Okay, set this to 0.5 for now, and for the next step I'm going to do the same thing, but this time for the ending points. So set the starting size to 0 and ending point to 1, and I want to use this scale node, but this time I want to multiply by -1 to actually have the same value but in the opposite direction. So let me check. Okay, you see? Let me increase the density to see what happened. And of course I want to turn this on. Okay, you can see that we have something already. Now let me turn it off. Okay, for the next step I'm going to make it a rounded shape like this. Well, this is a flat line and I want to convert this for the next step to something like this and then round it to be a such shape. So for doing this I need a point in the middle of the straight line. So I resample it and give it 3 points. It means that it will give each individual separated lines 3 amount of points. Okay. Now I want to move this middle point up along my surface normal. So I'm going to use this surface normal again. and the set position. Okay, scale it. But I should only select the middle points, so I should use the endpoint selection. First, I'm going to select the starting and the ending points. So I set these to 1. And after selecting them, I actually have a middle point in here, but it is not selected yet. They are selected. And after that, I'm going to use the Boolean math and set this to not. It means that it will select which is not selected by the previous node. So it will select only this middle point. I connect this to the set position. And you can see that we have something. I should use a very small value, so I'm going to use a divide node again. And 10,000. Okay. Now I have something like this, and they moved along the normal of my surface. You can see it's something like this. Okay. And for the next step, I'm going to round them by fillet curve. I want to set this to poly, and I should use a very small radius for that, but I don't want to be that precise. I have the option in here actually, so I turn on the limit radius and of course increasing the count to, for example, 9. Now you can see that I have my effect. I can just increase it or reduce it, something like this. But there is a problem when we use limit radius. If this is my curve, when I use the limit radius, I will lose the distribution, the uniform distribution of my points. Some of the points will move to the ending points, and some of them may overlap to each other, so I just can't get rid of them. There are two ways for that. If you convert them to mesh, and using curve circle, the resolution in here is too much, and I want to set this on 5. 4 or 5 is okay. And also radius, also a very small radius, 10,000. Okay, point 4. Okay. And also I want to fill the caps. Okay, I said there are two ways for avoiding this issue. First, I can use the merge by distance node and set this to very small value. And you can see in this vertices amount, let me turn this off and on. I can see that by using this node, I reduced about 2000 of points. And there is another way for that also. Actually, I think that's a better way. After the fillet, I can use a resample again, because I told you by the fillet, we lost our uniform distribution of the points, so we can bring back this uniform distribution by resampling them again. And I want to set this on, for example, 11. And you can see when I reduce the count, the vertices amount is reducing. And that's your choice. And let me delete this. But there's something, all of the radius. Let me go into the view and lower this number. Okay. Okay, now you can see that the radius of all of these splines are exactly the same, and I want some randomness in them. So in the set position which we define the radius, I need some random values. I can simply multiply this divide by a random value. And I want them to be, let me show you, you can see that how it will change the radius. It will give random radius to me, changing the seed. I want to set this between, I don't know, 0.1 or 0.2, whatever you want. Now let me increase the density and of course turn this on. Okay, if you don't like this issue, if it's bothering you, you can just go inside, and after turning this off, you can see that this is our wobbling in here. You can just fix it. And at the last step, I want to give it the material. Cotton, cotton. And change the color. And reduce the specular to, I don't know, 0.4. Increase the roughness, 0.8. And since I increased the roughness, I want to set this on multi-scatter GGX and sheen 0.5 or 1. And also a little bit of metalness because I want to give a little bit of silky look to this. 0.25. Okay. Now I can dry it. Going to the Bezier curve and draw something like okay. If you got such issues, you can go and fix the curve, the base curve. That's because of the drying tool, the curve drying tool. Well, it might have some issues in some positions, but that's okay. It mostly works pretty fine, so don't worry about that. And yeah, I want to show you something else in the geometry node. If you wanted some different colors in this stitching, you can use a noise texture, but before converting this to mesh, I know that it will make my video a little bit longer, and I don't like that, but it's a good tip to know. A noise texture, and also I should store attribute. Okay, the important thing is to set this option to the spline, not the points. I'm connecting the factor to the value because let me show you first. I want to set the name to color, and to see what is happening in the viewer, I can't just use this noise texture in the viewer, so I use a name attribute. Control C, Control V, and use the attribute. Okay, now let me increase the scale. $150. Okay. I use the factor instead of the color because I want to have a black and white color, and in the shader editor I want to use a color ramp based on this range of number. So going to the shader an attribute, Control V to paste the color, and now yes, I have it using the color ramp. Okay, I can give some random colors, something like this. Okay, now you can see that you can give any kind of colors to this and have such effect by setting the attribute in the geometry node editor and using in the shader editor. Okay friends, thank you for watching. I hope this video was useful for you. I hope you have nice moments. Goodbye.